Just how dire is the current state of the Israel-Hamas war, and what effects are we witnessing in Gaza? We're observing an escalating conflict, a raging storm of violence between Israel and Hamas that continues to worsen. This war has seen targeted airstrikes on Gaza, with Israel focusing on the Palestinian Islamic Jihad movement, a separate entity from Hamas, but one that shares its resistance. These strikes have been met with a barrage of rocket launches by Palestinian militants, a relentless return of fire that has kept the war alive and burning. Attempts to extinguish the flames of conflict through diplomacy have thus far been in vain. Despite concerted efforts to secure a ceasefire, the fighting persists unabated, with neither side showing a willingness to back down. The human cost of this war is staggering. Hundreds of Palestinians have lost their lives, with the death toll rising daily. On the Israeli side, the count of casualties, though lower, is still significant. This war has also seen the United States approving the potential sale of $735 million in weapons to Israel, a move that has raised eyebrows and questions about the US's role in this conflict. The Israel-Hamas war is a crisis that is deeply affecting the people of Gaza and showing no signs of resolution. To understand the present, we must look to the past. So what are the key events that have escalated this conflict? Our journey starts with the rise of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad movement. This group, while allied with Hamas, has its own distinct identity and goals. Its uncompromising stance against Israel, coupled with a significant arsenal of weapons, has fueled the flames of conflict. Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, both funded and armed by Iran, are seen as two sides of the same coin, but they differ in key ways. Unlike Hamas, the Islamic Jihad does not participate in elections, focusing instead on its militant activities. The situation escalated significantly when Israeli airstrikes began targeting these groups in Gaza. These strikes had a clear aim: to keep Hamas, the governing body in Gaza, out of the fighting by focusing on the Islamic Jihad targets. The airstrikes were met with a fierce response. Palestinian militants launched rocket attacks against Israeli cities, adding a new dimension of violence to an already tense situation. In the midst of this, diplomatic efforts to secure a ceasefire were underway, but the fighting persisted. A significant turning point came when a top Islamic Jihad commander was killed by an Israeli missile attack. This prompted Hamas to vow more rocket launches unless the bombing ceased. Amid this escalating conflict, the US approved the potential sale of $735 million in weapons to Israel, a move that further complicated the situation. Meanwhile, on the Israeli home front, the rise of right-wing politics began to fan the flames of conflict. These political shifts fueled demands for uncompromising action against Palestinians, leading to further escalation. Parallel to this, the power of the internet began to play a more sinister role. Lone wolf attackers, radicalized by online incitement from groups like Hamas, became a new threat. These individuals, acting outside the command of any organization, added an unpredictable element to an already complex and dangerous situation. These critical events have led us to the current state of conflict, a situation that is increasingly volatile and perilous. We've delved deep into the Israel-Hamas conflict, but what are the main points we've discussed? Let's recap. We've seen the severity of the situation, where the escalating conflict and key events have worsened the state of affairs in Gaza. The people in the region are caught in the crossfire, bearing the brunt of the unrest. We've also examined the role of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad movement. Allied with Hamas but possessing separate identities, the group rejects compromises with Israel and is described as an Iranian proxy seeking to destroy Israel. They have a significant arsenal of weapons and an active armed wing, the Al-Quds. In addition, we've noted the rise of right-wing politics in Israel, fueling demands for uncompromising action against Palestinians, leading to further escalation. We've also touched upon the radicalization of lone wolf attackers, often incited online by groups like Hamas. This complex issue further complicates the situation, adding another layer to the conflict. Lastly, we've seen the international community's response, or lack thereof, with attention focused on other global issues, leaving the conflict largely unaddressed. As the conflict continues to rage, the crisis in Gaza deepens, leaving us to wonder, what will it take to bring peace to this region?